Good morning. My name is Federico Reeve from Creative Entrepreneur in Melbourne, Australia. And good afternoon or good evening, depending where you are around the world. And the great thing about Google Hangouts is that we can reach out to amazing people like we have today with my guest speaker, who I'll introduce very shortly. In today's Hangout, we talk about intrapreneurship, a term that is often misunderstood or perhaps neglected in the world of business and in the world of entrepreneurship. But specifically, we are looking at the radical intrapreneur and how entrepreneurs or business owners are going about hiring or recruiting employees of that caliber in their organization to innovate and to expand and to be competitive in the industry. And today I have a very special guest. He's a serial entrepreneur. I like to call him a serial entrepreneur. He's also the managing director of the Coronas Group. Welcome, Andrew. How are you today?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Federico. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thanks for your time. I know you're a very, very busy man. Looking at your portfolio of work and your history in business, it's extremely diversified and very rich. And just to give the viewers a bit of a background of Andrew, Andrew is again the managing director of the Coronas Group, and he's very much involved in the property industry or perhaps even the real estate industry, and certainly he's been across those two particular markets over the 20 or so years, or in fact the 25 years, 27 years actually, Andrew, which is a very long time. So I'm sure you've got lots to tell us today, which we'll go into shortly. A couple of facts as well. Andrew employs over 250 employees nationally across the various offices. And one of Andrew's goals or ambitions going forward into the future with the Coronas Group is to actually expand into 50 offices nationwide. So that is certainly a huge ambition and a fantastic goal to have. Andrew was also awarded or announced as a finalist in the Channel 7 Business Person of the Year award, and certainly that comes with a lot of credential and such awards that are very prestigious only come to a few of people out there who do what Andrew does. So enough of me speaking, Andrew. I'd like to sort of get to know more about you from your point of view. So tell us in a nutshell, I guess, what inspired you and your family to be involved in this industry.
Yeah, sure. I suppose I finished school in 1987, which is a fair while ago now, and I left without a very good tea school because we had what was called a tea school back then, or a school, and it wasn't that great. And my dad was in one little office at Stafford, and you can now call it the hole in the wall. So we had 3 employees, we had one little office, and I got into property because I didn't know anything else. So I suppose I was given a start by my father. Over those years, we've now grown to where we are. That was from 87. I was very young and inexperienced. And in 2000, my father, I suppose, getting to the topic of what it is, gave me the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And that term wasn't coined back then, but with hindsight, it probably was what I was. And that I was able to grow and fly with the confidence and support of my father to grow a business where we could first range of property services. So the inspiration, I suppose, came from, I didn't have an education. I always wanted to be successful. I had a burning desire to do something with my life and offer the community something to grow and be financially successful, I suppose, a bit of a way. And the kudos that comes with being somebody in business in Brisbane at that point that is well recognised and well respected.
As entrepreneurs, I can certainly relate to the word burning desire, and that comes with a passion or perhaps a long history or rich history in the family roots when it comes to entrepreneurship. And obviously, listening to your story and your father, there has been, of course, an influence from those people to make you who you are today. And if we start thinking about that particular mindset of the entrepreneurs, let's also start thinking about the intrapreneurs. And I guess I'd like to sort of shift the attention towards that topic today, because that's really the essence of what we're focusing on. Yeah. So from your point of view, Andrew, in a nutshell, what do you think is the difference between the entrepreneur like yourself and the intrapreneur, the people that, perhaps you currently employ?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's much difference at all. I was lucky enough to have a start where my father got out of my way and enabled me to fly and gave me the confidence. And as an entrepreneur, I had to put my own money, my own time, my own effort from what we call the hole in the wall, where we were we were turning over, I can't even remember back then, but it was a paltry sum. And to the point where Dad and I got together in about 1994, and we had a very modest little business where we thought we had to get out of property services because it just wasn't paying the bills and there was no money in it. And I remember the conversation distinctly saying, we've either got to make this work or we've got to find a new income stream. So then that's when it really clicked with me that we had to make it work. And how do you make it work? You've got to deliver what the community wants and grow as an entrepreneur. And the big difference I believe that I had was as an entrepreneur to what is an entrepreneur now. I think getting the up to speed as an entrepreneur, you have to put your money, your time, your generally mortgage and asset to get the money together to go forward and create a business. I think as an entrepreneur, you can use the facilities in a business and use the vehicle for business. As I say to all of our people, yeah, use this vehicle of the business to grow you professionally. And we will endeavour to get out of your way within some cultural confines of the business. But I want to offer the people that work here the same opportunity that I had. Here's an outcome that we need to deliver. Here's a reward that you will get from that outcome, meaning generally profit share participation. And you've got to determine how you do that, based around what we call our 5 cultural questions. Funnily enough, it's only come out in the last 6 months. It's only 27 years I've revised them. But our 5 cultural questions, based on everything now and everything we do, are is what you're doing good for the clients and good for the community? Is what you're doing good for you and your teammates? Is what you're doing profitable for the business? And is what you're doing moral and what you're doing legal? Now, if every question that we have in business is answered by those, and they're our cultural, what we call our cultural confines of anything we do, and then we leave the rest of it up to the individual to sort out. And that's where I think.
Fantastic. So you have, I suppose, a model or a methodology that helps individuals decide whether they are entrepreneurial and whether or not they want to add further to the organisation. So is the word entrepreneurial used in the organisation on a day-to-day, and is that something that employees understand from the status quo?
I suppose the actual word hasn't been used up until about a month ago when we started talking about having this interview, and I actually researched it. But culturally, that's what we've been doing. We are now using the word entrepreneurship, and it's actually getting a lot of traction with people because it's something tangible for people to grow to. We've had difficulties in the past, and we're always devising new ways to muck things up, like every business, and ways of growing as well. But people want to grow to be a leader, and I want to push people to be the best leader they can be. In some cases, they don't want to be a leader of people, though. They want to be the best leader they can be and grow something. And this is where we're now using for the last month and getting great traction with it and pushing through the whole business. Who wants to be an entrepreneur? And the uptake of that has been excellent. And we just set guidelines around the outcomes that are derived from that. People have to go away and do business plans based around that demonstrate the 5 core cultural values of our business that I explained before. And now it's starting to get real traction. It's only been a month, the word entrepreneur, everyone wants to be. It's great.
Look, it's an interesting perspective to hear it from you. And like I said, the reason why I do what I do is because I feel that the knowledge of such term is still somewhat limited amongst business leaders.
Yes.
But once you get the basics of it, which really comes back to the traits and the quality of the individual, you'll realize that companies have an opportunity to really leverage on such people with these unique qualities. And if we talk about these qualities, in a nutshell, what do you think are those top qualities that entrepreneurs possess, or the ones that you particularly want to attract in your company?
Yeah, very much. Look, ideally, we would like them all to be entrepreneurs because what they possess is a burning. I think what I had when I was younger, a burning desire to be the best that they can be, or the best them they can be. A burning desire to be successful and be noted by their peers for adding. And look, getting back to that word that Steve Jobs said that I like is, putting a little bit of being in the universe. They want to create something. And I think good businesses, a good mix of practice to what I call win the war on talent will have to offer something more than just being an employee. It's just over now being come and work for me and make money for the business. People aren't interested in that. And if we can harness the qualities of people and their emotional qualities too, about their desire and their love and their support, and they want to be challenged, and there's a lot of emotive things in that. If we can harness those and give them a clear path with clear outcomes, don't get me wrong, and support around those outcomes, I think the businesses in the future will be the ones that have to adopt that and apply for it.
Interesting. Okay, so you've mentioned before that ultimately it would be ideal to have the whole workforce as entrepreneurs. Do you foresee any potential issues in everyone thinking entrepreneurially? And examples might be excessive competition, or perhaps sort of tug of war of ego and so forth. What are the potential risks or issues that you've faced with people who are extremely ambitious?
Well, I suppose it comes down to the core values. You see, I just look at myself. I've been very lucky over the 27 years of business. I've never had to change my job once. Sorry, I've never had to change my company once. I've changed my job every 2 years. And one of the core philosophies we say when you start here, we want you to change your job every 2 years. It doesn't mean you have to change the company. So our internal drive for growing people is very, very strong. And if you can keep pushing people through, there's what we call, I borrowed this term off Flight Centre, a brightness of future for everybody. So they know they're not just working for an organisation, not knowing where they're going. And I don't think, personally, it's going to be for everybody, but I think the vast majority of people will want to add something to a business to say, look what I've done. So I think the competition will help grow the business by pushing people forward and keep, it's a bit like a tree. If the bottom branches don't continue to die and grow, the top can't grow. So you get the top to grow, you've got to keep pushing people up the tree further and further as a team. And I like the option that everybody, because one of the terms I coined here is, I believe we are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And too many people get carried away with talent and about how people are special, and that's where some people think some people are better than other people. I don't believe that at all. And I want to give everybody an opportunity to grow to be. Not everybody will take that opportunity, and I'm fully understanding of that. And there are certain roles in our business where that can't be. I mean, as a accounts clerk or clerk, or as a secretary in an office or a receptionist in an office, it's very hard to be an entrepreneur. But there we have paths for those if they do want to grow into different roles. And I think that's where we can offer everybody a path with different roles.
What particularly resonates, Andrew, is what you've said, transforming people who are ordinary into the extraordinary. And an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur who has survived business for many decades like yourself is certainly an extraordinary individual. The great pioneers, the great explorers, the great inventors, the game changers and the serial entrepreneurs have distinct qualities and traits. So would you say that in essence, the people that you would like to employ, it's really more about the mindset than it is necessarily about the skills they have?
Oh, most definitely. I think skills are overrated, to be honest. I think it's the fact and their desire to grow. Give me that person and we can teach skills. It's not difficult what we do. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not difficult to learn if you want to learn it. And I think the skills are vastly overrated. And when, a good example, we had a position for a recruitment director, and I actually dropped the wage structure and wanted to give somebody an opportunity of the role who was young and up and coming. And I believe I've found somebody that's working harder and longer and better than I would have done somebody at more of the pay grade, because they're an expectation and entitlement at the higher level, whereas this person's trying to prove themselves to grow. And the results he's achieving is unbelievable. So I prefer to give people an opportunity who want the role. The rest of the skill set will be coaching. That's our job as a business.
Sure. So Andrew, look, I guess so far we've depicted the entrepreneur as an innovator, as an ambitious individual, someone who's willing to push themselves to that next level of success and performance, and obviously to the benefit of the organisation. From experience, I also know that there are side effects in managing and dealing with entrepreneurs, and those side effects could simply be about ego, could be about keeping them in a restricted environment and them preferring to actually work outside and do whatever they want,
yes,
or perhaps wanting extreme autonomy. So from your experience, what are the side effects of actually dealing with entrepreneurs? And let's now look at the opposite side of the coin.
Yeah, look, that's where I believe the art of business comes in. I mean, business is about, and being a good entrepreneur and even business person, I believe, is knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them. And sometimes you have to let go, and it's give and take all the way through. That's why I developed 5 cultural questions, and I specifically put profit in there as well. Because if their customer service is good, and if their profit is good, I don't care about the rest of it. The rest of it they can sort out amongst themselves. But those 2 metrics must be attained, and they're non-negotiable for any of the entrepreneurs. And to be honest, if you're an entrepreneur, that's what you've got to deliver anyway. So we're putting that same pressure onto the people in the business who want to be entrepreneurs to create profit, because without profit, the business has no bearing, and to create a great, what we use NPS as our rating system, Net Promoter Score of our customer service. And so you've got to have a benchmark NPS and create the profit. And if we can hit those 2 marks, the rest of it, we don't really care how you get around.
So in achieving those outcomes, those KPIs or those goals and objectives, are there ways in which you can implement or structure such discussions or outcomes or meetings between the team members to eventuate that, or to visualize those goals as a company? So I guess in managing entrepreneurs, my question is, are there ways in which you can do that systematically, say having a session once a month or every so often, where you get people together to think about the goals and the objectives and really pushing the boundaries? So this is really about, how do you manage these people on a day-to-day? Do you have any tips to offer?
Yeah, no, yes. We certainly have what I call a fairly thin management level. We don't want to have too many leaders on top of people, because people generally feel stifled. And the more people you can cut out of leadership roles, I believe the better business will run, as long as the people who are doing the production have responsibility around those 5 cultural questions I said before. We then have weekly and monthly KPIs based on those 5 cultural questions. And then it stands out fairly well, because if they're behind the benchmark of what our best person is, or in front of the benchmark of what the average is, our reporting comes up in red or green, so we can sit down and have a talk to them about, you've got to get this number better, or you've got to get that number better. And that is actually, because it takes the emotion out of it as well. When they can see their benchmark against their peers, and we're very open with and transparent with all of our numbers in our business. I think you've got to be in business these days. And then people will start owning their numbers. And when they start owning their numbers, that's when the real magic starts happening.
Interesting insight, Andrew. You've mentioned leadership, and certainly something I want to explore now. And you're a leader, and you've also said that having too many leaders can be a challenge. So I agree with you on that point. But leadership comes with tenacity, comes with vision, and those particular skills are important. But how do you sort of prevent or stop or slow down those entrepreneurs that want to become leaders in the company, and not perhaps flatten their enthusiasm or ego?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. And I think in a lot of cases, the entrepreneurs will be the ones that will be consistently trying to jump the fences of the business. And they'll be consistently trying to go outside the boundary and break the rules. There you go. And what I used to do in the past was have an attitude of you've got to go by the rules of the business. But then I came up with the 5 cultural questions, and I keep getting back to that, because as long as they answer those questions in what they're doing, I want to take all fences down, and I want to let people do it their way, because we will all try and do it a little bit different. And when we try to become too systematic, this attitude of you're trying to micromanage me too much, and I get that. I didn't want to be micromanaged. And the really good people hate being micromanaged. It's a fact. No one likes somebody looking over their shoulder. But I think most people, if they're quality people, understand there's an outcome they've got to deliver. So you're going to get put a lot of pressure on you if you're not delivering those 2 outcomes, which is good customer service and profitability. And people accept, look, if that's all I've got to do, leave the rest of it to me, I'll deliver that.
Absolutely. So just for the viewers, and just before, when you mentioned the word 5 cultural questions, we had a bit of a technical transmission issue back then, but just for the viewers again, what are those 5 cultural points that you've mentioned, just in summary?
Yep. These things we're trying to deliver through every level of leadership, to the point where if somebody comes to me with a problem now, I'll ask them to address the problem, and how can they address it with the 5 cultural questions. Or if they come to me with a solution, I'll say, Are you happy with them addressing the 5 cultural questions? Now, the 5 cultural questions are very basic, and again, I believe genius comes from making things as easy as possible. The first one is it must be good for our customers and it must be good for our community, because without that, we don't have a business. The second one is it's got to be great for our team members. So you just can't do it at the expense of the people around you in the office. The third one is it must be profitable, and I'm very passionate about profit. You know, a lot of people get a bit scared about talking about profit, especially with employees. They've got to realise the reason we're here is to make a profit, because with profit we can do a lot of great things in our business. Without profit, we don't have a business and we go out backwards. And you know, we've got close to 300 people working here now. I think without profit, there's a big responsibility to pay their wages every week, and I take that very seriously. So we've got to make profit. I'm not going to make profit. That's very important. It must be moral, because we don't do things moral. And last but not least, and the last two are given, I suppose. It must be moral, number 4, and number 5 is it must be legal. Now, if every decision everyone in the business makes on a day-to-day basis answers 5 out of 5 there, we're fine. We're fine. I know that. And that's what a business should deliver. And I'm quite proud of coming up with those. They came to me one night when I was saying all I want people to deliver, and I just rattled them off. And I thought, wow, if everyone could deliver that in our business, how simple is that? And the rest of it, sort it out, guys. Have some fun. Go flying.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really passionate about.
You've offered some great tips, Andrew. Thank you for that again. And a question around profit. I know that with that entrepreneurial culture comes innovation, and with innovation, often you have to burn profit to grow and to expand and to be competitive. To what extent are you prepared to compromise profit over innovation and therefore developing that competitive edge over your players or competitors?
Oh no, we're prepared to do it because we have a robust business that has profitability coming from many levels now. We had to change our model just from being a real estate salesperson. So you know, our model is now we have sales, now we have property management, now we have an RTO which delivers profit. We have a maintenance business that delivers profit. We have a conveyancing business that delivers profit, and a financial services business. Now, what we do to see the other businesses that have come on, we see them with capital, and we get a leader involved, and again, we give them freedom. We say, here are the outcomes. How much you write a business plan? How much money do you need? And you don't get 1 more cent than that. So you tell us how much you need to make it profitable, and there you go. And we put it in a bank account, and the wages and the costs come out of there, and every week they can see where they are. You know, one of our businesses, which is our RTO, would you believe we seeded it with $50,000, and it's a very successful business now. That was 40 years ago. The leader of that business got it down to $800, and I think it was $46 in the bank account, and it's a wonderful business now. But that's how tight he got down to, and we weren't going to put another cent in. That was just the way it is. So that's how I suppose we put a stop loss on the fact of cash drain on the business. You tell us what the plan is. This is what it is. Bank account sideways, all the expenses come out of it. Again, very basic, but it works very well.
Look, I completely support and like the theory, but also practice that cash is king. And at the end of the day, you know, in a commercial venture, it needs to be profitable. It's not just about fun. But having said that, it does need to be about fun, is my philosophy. And from that point of view of fun and reward, how do you go about rewarding or incentivizing those entrepreneurs that are willing to push harder and to work harder?
Yeah, look, I've probably been criticised a little bit about this, but it seems to have worked for us. Now, this mightn't work for everybody, but what we have done in the past is sell down equitable positions to people, and as the business keeps growing, they've gained we've made a lot of wealthy people by the fact that the business is growing. They only get to buy small amounts of the business, and it's probably put us on our next path for all the young people coming through with buying an equitable stake in the business is too expensive for them. The Coronas family still has a majority shareholding between my sales director, who started it with me, Gillies, Theo, my dad, still has 20%, and myself, obviously. But what we're looking at now is to growing the business to an IPO so that we can share in the profitability of the business with people coming through with share options, and they can trade their shares, and they can actually work for a business where we will make it very exclusive and make it very skinny stock, so it's very hard to get apart from if you work here with a client. And we're working through some plans on that at the moment, which I'm very excited about, because I want a secretary of an office to have 2,000 shares and to go, wow, I'm working hard and I get paid, and look, my $2,000 worth of shares has gone to $2,300 this year, or whatever. I see some value for me working here rather than And I think that's really important for the business.
And in terms of further incentivizing those entrepreneurs, is public acknowledgement important, and sharing the successes of those people, to other staff?
Very vastly. We do a lot of that now. We've actually just employed a videographer because we're going to be very serious about that. And his job is going around to all of the team and getting videos of what they've done well and to promote that within everybody else. And it just helps grow that culture of doing it. So it's not all about financial gains, it's about reward and recognition as well. We have quarterly awards days, and then they're big, and they get everyone together, and we call it our family gatherings because we are still a family business. But we'll shut the offices down, we'll put it through the pages, we'll get minimum staff in, and we get everybody out of the offices to have fun. But I think you touched on the point before. If it's not fun, you won't get people inspired. If you can't get them inspired, they won't do the actions. If they don't do the actions, your business is dead. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, we're not robots. We can't just tell people to do actions, unfortunately. But we have to, I believe our business, in my role especially, is to inspire people greatly to go through. That's what our reward and recognition plays.
Excellent insight once again, Andrew. Look, I'm conscious of your time, so I do want to wrap up shortly with a couple more questions. But just for the viewers, some of the key highlights of today's discussion with Andrew is that you've got to have, or Andrew believes that there has to be 5 cultural questions, which kind of assesses the eligibility or perhaps the criteria or thought process behind being entrepreneurial and being able to offer something special to the organisation. Some of the key words that have popped up several times in this discussion include words like passion, drive, going from being ordinary to extraordinary, and that's probably my tagline for today, and certainly something that I'd like to share with other people in further discussions. It is about profit and performance. It is about breaking the rules, working outside of the comfort zone or the boundaries, and last but not least, about reward and recognition and fun. So some great points there, Andrew. So thank you again. Before you wrap up, just a couple of things regarding the industry per se. So you operate within the property/real estate industry, etc. How does entrepreneurship or that entrepreneurial culture actually manifest, in your opinion, day to day amongst other players in the industry?
Well, I think we're actually fairly lucky. In most cases, most people get into real estate sales, I suppose, would be the best way to describe it. They become a great salesperson, and the only way they can see, because they want to create their own little piece of the world, is to go out and open up a business. Unfortunately, that's fraught with danger because there's about 8% failure rate in the first 3 years of real estate offices opening up. So I actually like the fact that we are the only organisation that generally, we own every office, so we're a company owned, not a franchise, and we have a career path for people to be entrepreneurs here. In the general industry, most real estate agents don't want to grow. They're happy with where they are, which means the only option for somebody who wants to be an entrepreneur is become an entrepreneur. And that's fraught with danger because then, as I said to you before, we've got to put everything on the line. It's an all-in effort, and a lot of people don't have the skills to be a business person. We can teach those skills going forward. So I think we have a pretty good advantage being a company-owned, growing organisation for ourselves.
And certainly that's observable and noticeable from the outside looking in, and hence why working with you has been a great pleasure because of your experience and philosophy to entrepreneurship and to disruption, I guess. And I'm a big fan of the word disruption, and it's about disrupting the industry and really changing the way things have been done in that industry. And I'm sure that in your property real estate industry, things have been somewhat stale for a long time, but you're certainly innovating and changing that model. So one last question, Andrew, regarding Australia versus the global marketplace. How does Australia compare itself to other nations as far as leadership in the real estate property sector from your perspective?
I think we are well placed. I have been around the world and looked at different levels. I think the English models are the better models because they have got corporate offices. In the United States, it's very fractured, and in Australia it's still very fractured and cottage industry, and that's hard to grow a corporation. And the word corporation is not done to be some top-down heavy management level. It's to grow a collective of people who are all working together with their own agendas and getting their own agendas addressed going forward. And that's what we're trying to create in the real estate space, I suppose. I knew you would use the word disruption. I know that if real estate agents don't get their service standards better, we will be outdone by a bit of technology at some particular point in time. So what we've developed to counteract that is offering every piece of the property puzzle and taking people from a tenant, from when you first come to us as a tenant, to help you save for a deposit by giving you budgeting, for helping you to buy a house, from helping you with conveyancing, helping you with financial planning and financial services, all the way through your life cycle. And that's the way that we've done it. And I think that model, we've seen the uptake for people, because I get back to it. When you buy a house, don't want to go through the paraphernalia. You actually just want to go there and live. And you want to buy a house and you want to live happily ever after in that particular point in time. And I think real estate agents just want to go and sell you a house and then walk away and say, thanks very much for the commission. I think we've got to offer a lot better service, a lot more structure around the whole process rather than just selling a house and collecting rent. And that's what we're doing. So we've got a long way to go, but you compare it to the rest of the world, and I think we are well placed.
And I congratulate you, Andrew, for your efforts and for the efforts of the family over the many decades. Certainly your efforts at large, your philosophy to business and your entrepreneurial spirit has been noticed in the Australian marketplace. And I'm sure that over the future generations to come, other developed nations will be looking at us with envy and taking notice of the results and accomplishments your company has made. So thank you again. I really appreciate your time and your insight, and I'm really grateful to have you on the show today.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you, Federico. I appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thanks, Andrew. Bye-bye.